Hello, my name is Reverend Bonnie Rose, and I'm with Our Ventura TV. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Ivor Davis about his new book. Ivor, welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be on.
I'm so glad you're here. Tell us the title of your new book.
The book is called The Beatles and Me on Tour, 60th Anniversary Edition, and it's the exciting adventures of me and four guys from Liverpool who did rather well in the music business.
Yes, I would say so. The book, The Beatles and Me, it implies that you know them. So tell us a little bit about how you found yourself in that situation of touring with the Beatles.
In a nutshell, I was a foreign correspondent for the London Daily Express on the West Coast in Los Angeles when my editor in London called me on the phone and said, "Get on the plane to San Francisco. The boys are coming and I want you to travel with them and you're going to be a write about them." And I said, "Who are the boys?" And he said, "Silly fellow, it's the Beatles." And then I joined them in San Francisco on the very first day of the tour. And from then on, it was a wild ticket to ride.
I like that. The Beatles reference is not lost on me.
Thank you.
So, yes. So, um, so tell us a little bit about more about the tour. Like what was wild about it?
What was wild about it was I never knew what to expect. I didn't know much about the Beatles because in those days we didn't have the internet. I just saw them on the Ed Sullivan Show in February 1964. I thought they were pretty good. I wasn't bowled over by them.
Mhm.
A lot of screaming girls thought they were terrific and never stopped screaming. So when I got to meet them in San Francisco, I thought another rock group for the British invasion coming to America, big deal. But then within 48 hours, I knew I was on a roller coaster ride with them, which was unbelievable
Mhm.
because there were screaming girls in every city. There were police escorts. It was bedlam, and I enjoyed it.
Mm. What did you enjoy about it, especially with the screaming girls and the bedlam and all?
I enjoy. Sorry, Bonnie. I enjoyed the experience of something I'd never seen ever before. I was not a rock concert music person, and
Uh-huh.
I'd never really been to a rock concert, believe it or not. Then, and when I saw the screaming girls, and I saw the fans going mad, when I saw the Beatles performing for 29 minutes only, and the moment they got on stage, you couldn't hear what they were singing because of the screaming young women. It was an experience I'd never experienced in my entire life, and that was what happened for the next 35 days in every city in North America.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So, knowing them as you probably got to know them by being on tour with them, what do you think was the secret to their success, to their ability to captivate an audience so?
Well, there were four good-looking young men,
Uh-huh.
and they were terrific musicians, and they sang songs, and they somehow captivated an audience who, I mean, there were so many rock and roll acts around then, and yet the Beatles stood out like magic, and their longevity is unbelievable because, as you know, and the world knows, the Beatles are almost as popular today, 60 years later, than they were as they were back in the early 60s. There's no brilliant formula to that, but you talk to anybody from 4 to 44 to 64, and they know the Beatles, and that's the magic of their skills.
Wow. Now, when we were talking earlier, you said something about how it almost felt like a religion to you or like some type of spiritual element to it. And what are your thoughts about that?
Yes, in retrospect, 60 years later, seeing the movement, I mean, if the Beatles had wanted to be evangelists, I think they would have done rather well. I mean, Billy Graham back in the old days was pretty sensational in the way he spoke to people. The Beatles were pretty sensational in the way they sang to people. And now when I run into people, it's like members of the family. We're linked to this quote religion unquote
Yeah.
by our knowledge of the Beatles, and it's a growing army of supporters. Even today, in the year 2024, there are passionate followers, and we're all on the same religion. We're all on the same spiritual journey,
Yeah.
musical spiritual journey. So it's amazing when I examine it. But that's the answer.
That's wonderful. Thank you. What do you think is the most important thing that you learned from traveling with the Beatles and this great experience that you had?
That's a very tricky question. I learned that I should have taken my iPhone camera with me, which wasn't around at the time because I could have had so many great personal pictures. I learned that when I joined the Beatles, as soon as I became a member of their family, they put their guards down and they welcomed me in like that. So and I learned, that you should appreciate history as it's happening, which is very hard to do. If you and I thought about this year and we wrote it down, and then 60 years from now we looked at it, it would be a wonderful thing. But I never did. I just wrote the stories. I wrote George Harrison's column for him, and I didn't really. I mean, I enjoyed the event, but you've got to enjoy the moment. You've got to enjoy the moment you're living in, and don't worry about tomorrow, because if you don't enjoy today, you're going to lose a bit of life. And I don't know, maybe that sounds too philosophical, Bonnie, but the more I think about it, the more I wish I would have savored it more gently and more into my body, if you like, because today I think, wow, I left the Beatles one day, and then I ended up writing about the Warren Commission Kennedy report the next day. So life is very fast. It goes by in a whiz before
Yes.
you can sneeze, and just sit back, enjoy the moment. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, that's a great answer. I don't think that's too philosophical at all. It's a great message for everyone, for all of our viewers. And I'm sure that you have much more wisdom to impart, but we're almost out of time. So if people want more information, could you give us your web address or any other way that people get in touch with you?
My web address is ivordavisbooks.com, and you can get me, you can punch me in on the website, and you can find more than you ever want to know about me by just punching in Ivor Davis Beatles or just Ivor Davis whatever.
Okay.
And I enjoyed talking about this book because it's fun, it's a joy, and as we talked about earlier, it's hard work.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for speaking with me today and for educating our viewers. On behalf of all of our viewers and Our Ventura TV, this is Reverend Bonnie Rose bidding you a blessed day. Thank you so much.